I was made for killing all day long.
Welcome to the Video Store Geek Podcast, where your friendly neighborhood world film geek Albert Valentine talks about films made and released during the golden age of the VHS era.
Hey, fellow film geeks, welcome to the latest episode of the Video Store Geek Podcast. I am your friendly neighborhood world film geek, Albert Valentine, and today we are talking about the 1974 horror film Devil Times 5, directed by Sean MacGregor, written by Dylan Jones, and starring Sorrell Booke, Gene Evans, Leif Garrett, Dawn Lyn, Tia Turner, Tia Thompson, and Gail Smale. This film is pretty wild. It's about a group of kids who survive a van crash and find themselves in the lakeside chalet of a real estate tycoon, and they decide to start killing the adults one by one. It's an insane movie. It was originally released as People Toys in 1974, and it was picked up in 1976, where it's now given the now famous title of Devil Times 5. So, yeah, that's what pretty much the movie is, and that's what happens in this. Pretty much what's going on in this film. But we're gonna do a breakdown of a lot of stuff that goes on in this film and give you some bits of trivia because this movie has a bit of controversy allegedly. I will have to put a disclaimer here that one of the trivia facts that I will be talking about here apparently um, not sure if it's been proven true, but this is just an allegation. Don't know if it's true, but whether or not it is, so do not take this as real. But I will explain this later in the film. But right now, let's break down the film and get right to the nitty gritty. All right, so the film takes place in Lake Arrowhead, California. And what happens is a LA couple, Julie and Rick, are planning to go to the chalet of Julie's dad, Papa Doc, played by Gene Evans. Now, Papa Doc is a real estate tycoon, and he's also brought over his new wife, Lovely, played by Carolyn Stellar, as well as his business partner, Harvey, played by Sorrell Booke, and his wife, Ruth. So, as they're going on, as Julie and Rick are on their way to the chalet, a van crashes nearby on their way to a psychiatric hospital. The only survivors are five kids, and they are led by Sister Hannah, played by Gail Smale in her only film role to date. But the other four kids are David, played by Leif Garrett, who later became one of the most iconic teen idols of the 70s. You might know him for his song I Was Made for Dancing, but in this case, it's I was made for killing all day long. Anyway, there's also Mo, played by Dawn Lyn, who just happens to be Leif Garrett's real life sister. Then there's Brian, played by Tia Turner, who later became a stunt coordinator and an actor. He kept going with his acting, but also delved into the world of being a stunt performer and is today a stunt coordinator. And Susan, played by Tia Thompson, and also like Gail Smale, this was her only film role to date. So there's a lot of stuff going on with the adults for a good portion of the film. I mean, this film starts out like kind of very slow. It has a slow burn. And what happens is, in one case, Lovely is caught by Julie hitting on their her mentally disabled servant Ralph, played by John Duran, and this causes a little fight. Meanwhile, Lovely also tries to hit on Rick at one point. So for a good like half of the movie, it's kind of slow burn. But eventually, what happens is the kids end up at the chalet as well. They sneak through the wine cellar, and the next morning, they're discovered. And out of the kindness of his heart, Papa Doc decides to let the kids stay for one night until they figure out what to do. But what they don't realize is this is about to be the biggest mistake of their lives because the kids, as I mentioned, they were on their way back to a psychiatric hospital. So, what's bound to happen next. These kids start going after the adults and starts killing them. But like I said, it's a really slow burn because the first death of this movie doesn't happen until 46 minutes in. And just to let you guys know, I'm just gonna just put this one out. Ralph is the first one to get killed. He gets booby trapped by a generator wire, which strangles him. Then You got another minute, 20 minutes of like slow burn type stuff. And then the last like 20 minutes of the film is where everything really begins to pick up and the adults get killed in various ways, one by one. I won't tell you who. One gets hit by an axe, one gets killed by a drowning piranha and with getting eaten by piranha, one gets booby trapped, one gets impaled. Yeah, so that's pretty much what happens. But it's not that bad of a movie. If you like slow burn horror films, this is going to be one for you. And it's really not a bad film. I actually quite found it interesting. Actually, I will tell you the first time I heard about this movie, it was actually in a compilation video from one of my favorite filmmakers, Dustin Ferguson. He had a video called, I think it was something like Slumber Party Slaughterhouse or something. And there's some Grindhouse trailers mixed into this little story compilation. I can't explain what it was, but I saw this trailer for Devil Times Five, and I figured I gotta check this movie out eventually because I have never heard of it. And of course, doing my research, when I discovered that it's an early film from Leif Garrett, and Leif Garrett, like I just mentioned, he was a teen idol in the '70s. He would star in films like Skateboard. He appeared in the 1990s, The Spirit of '76, but he's more known as a singer he started out doing covers until I Was Made for Dancing was like his iconic hit until you might have heard a car accident happened in '79 that paralyzed his best friend at the time. But Leaf continued acting on and off in the '80s and focusing on music. And yeah, so that's what it was. And meanwhile, his sister Dawn Lyn, she just did a few more appearances, including appearing with Leaf on an episode of Wonder Woman. I did believe it was season 3. And then she pretty much retired from the film industry herself. Um, but what's interesting is Lovely, as I mentioned, is played by Carolyn Stellar, and she is actually the real life mother of Leif Garrett and Dawn Lyn. So I find it really, really ironic and interesting at the same time that um, her death happens by her own daughter, and that's what's really shocking to me about this. And then you have Sorrell Booke, who plays Harvey, who's kind of like a conniving business partner to Papa Doc. And Sorrell Booke would later go on to become known as Boss Hogg in the famous Dukes of Hazzard TV series. But he did appear in another film that I'm gonna cover in December, and that I just recently saw. So, and he has a really funny role in that film. Where this one he's kind of more serious and conniving, and he's like the second person to get killed in this movie. But it's quite interesting what happens here. But if you thought the film was interesting, you ought to know there is some behind the scenes drama that happened. This is where we're going to get into some of the trivia now. So what happened is the film was originally directed by Sean MacGregor, but 3 weeks into production, he was fired. And there's a few reasons why. The main reason, though, is that he did not get along with producer Michael Blowitz, and apparently one time it got physical between the two of them. MacGregor got so frustrated according to Blowitz, he punched him in the face. So Blowitz retaliated by throwing him through a glass plate window, and that was the end of it. MacGregor was fired, but here's the allegation that I'm going to bring up. I don't know if this is true or not. So, like I said, do not take this. This is just an allegation that I read. But apparently he had a relationship with the actress playing Sister Hannah, Gail Smale, and apparently she was underage at the time of the film. I don't know how true this is, so please do not take my word for this. Um, that's why I put this disclaimer in the beginning of the film. This is just an allegation. This is just a rumor. But apparently, according to Michael Blowitz, the physical fight between him and MacGregor did actually happen, and it resulted in MacGregor's firing. So David Sheldon took over as director for pretty much the rest of the production and some reshoots, and he was not credited for it. Sean MacGregor got the full credit for this movie. So that was like the behind the scenes drama that happened on this film because Tier Turner, who plays Brian, one of the kids, said that it was a really fun shoot. It felt like it was a vacation. He got along with the other kid actors really well, but he did say the only disturbing moment that he had to deal with was that he had to drag a body across in the sand, and that was the only thing that was like um that gave him a very bad vibe. But other than that, he had a blast making this movie. He said this in interviews that he had a lot of fun making this film. So originally released in 1974, it was actually called People Toys, and there's a good reason for it. I'm not there's a reason why the film is called originally called People Toys, and it's the finale of the movie. The last like 5 minutes really gives the film that meaning, and you'll understand why. But it was released in like small little. It was just like released in small theaters in various cities until 1976 when it was picked up internationally and then became the now famous Devil Times Five, which is the title that almost everyone knows that. But an interesting note, if you go to a streaming platform today like Tubi or maybe Amazon Prime and you come across this movie, you might see this as another title because another distributor picked it up called Cinemation Industries, and they released the film as the Horrible House on the Hill. So I don't know why they called it that. It's kind of strange, a strange title in my opinion. It just sounds too generic for me. For me, I've seen too many of these generic titles recently, especially with the Lifetime thrillers. A lot of them had these other cool titles only to say, let's just come up with something simple, and I think if you give a film a title, and it means something, it should be unique. Don't do something generic. It's just ridiculous. I'm just putting my 2 cents in with that because I've seen a lot of these. I get, I get back in the 70s and 80s, they renamed kung fu films a lot, and they had some cool titles. Like think about it. So there was the Five Venoms. They just add the word deadly to it for the U.S. release. The Five Deadly Venoms, right? The 36 Chamber of Shaolin was renamed The Master Killer. I thought that's a pretty cool title. This movie, I actually like both the People Toys title, the original title, and the Devil Times Five title because there's five kids and they're all killers and it makes sense. They're like the Devil Times Five. It totally makes sense. But the Horrible House on the Hill, that just sounds not only generic, but that's kind of stupid. Just because all the mayhem happens in this one house, and it's not even their freaking house. It's the house of Papa Doc's. And by the way, according to some rumor, Gene Evans only did the role because he just needed a paycheck or something at the time. So I'm not sure. But interestingly enough, there's a character, and this is another thing I found interesting about this movie. There's a character named Dr. Brown, and he's the kid's psychiatrist. He only appears like very briefly. Like what happens is he survived the crash, and he goes relentlessly looking for these kids, and then pretty much he disappears. Like the horrible House on the Hill version I saw, he just ups and disappears, and it's like I'm looking for the kids, and that's pretty much it. He's gone after that. I don't know if that has to do with the MacGregor's firing and the reshoots later on. I don't know, but that was like the biggest plot hole of this movie. Like, what the hell happened to Dr. Brown? So I don't know. But I mean, overall, I like the film. It was very controversial. I love slow burns. I'm starting to have an appreciation for slow burns because it gives you that sense of anticipation. So I get it. Like I said, the movie is about 86 minutes long. The first kill doesn't come in until like 46 minutes in. And then you have another 20 minutes and everything starts to happen about the hour and 6 minute mark. That's when everything really starts to come together. For me, that's okay. I know that's gonna piss some people off, but for me, I liked it. And so with that said, I'm gonna give my final rating on this film. I'm giving this a B. Like I said, I think the biggest problem for me was I always question what the hell happened to Dr. Brown, but I'm wondering also is it because of the behind the scenes drama that happened that they just pretty much he was a pretty much one and leave town type of thing. I'm not sure. I don't to this point we'll never know. But it's now available on Blu-ray. You can see it on streaming. It's definitely check it out if you like child killer films, like Bloody Birthday, um the Village of the Damned, Children of the Damned. If you like those type of films, you might end up liking Devil Times Five. It brings a little more exploitation. Um, the only nudity in the film for the 70s is Carolyn Stellar, naked in a bathtub. Um, and she's the only one who gets naked. She took one for the team, but to have her kids, you know, what they do in the film is her real life kids. I was just it's just insane, and but I really enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed Devil Times Five, and like I said, if you like child killer films, this is one I would recommend. But I would love to know what happened to Gail Smale and Tia Thompson because this was their only film. You know, they just pretty much said, we'll just do one movie and end it. I would love to know what happened to these two, especially what they're up to these days. Whether they're probably not in the entertainment industry anymore, but it'd be pretty cool, pretty interesting to see what they're doing these days. These two, because we already know about the other three. Leif Garrett, Dawn Lyn, and Tia Turner. We already know what these guys are up to these days. So yeah, if anyone's listening to this and they get any word on what the other two actors are, Gail Smale and Tia Thompson, are up to today, I would love to know. So that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, that's it for this episode of the Video Store Geek Podcast. We are going to be returning on October 20th. And just in time for Halloween, I am going to be doing one of the all-time 80s classics because I have not reviewed this movie on the blog, on the World Film Geek blog. So I figured I'm going to give everyone an early Halloween treat. I will be talking about the 1985 Tom Holland film, Fright Night, with William Ragsdale, Chris Sarandon, Roddy McDowall, Amanda Beer, Stephen Jeffries, and Jonathan Stark. So I will be focusing on Fright Night on October the 20th. Please check out worldfilmgeek.com for the latest in interviews, reviews, news, and all that involving indie cinema and global cinema. And don't forget, November 1st, on the World Film Geek YouTube channel, I will be officially announcing the nominations for this year's World Film Geek Awards. And it will happen on December 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. So it's going to be really exciting because I've been working on these award nominations and all this for a while now. And I'm already past like the 120 movie mark. And I'm not going to lie when I say this is going to be the toughest film awards this year. I thought last year's was tough. This year's is even more insane because there have been some fantastic indie and global films out this year, and it's going to be a tough one for me. So again, November 1st, go to the YouTube channel at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. The nominees will be announced. And December 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, the World Film Geek Awards will be happening. So until we meet again, fellow film geeks, as always, stay awesome and take care.
Thank you for listening to the Video Store Geek Podcast. Don't forget to check out worldfilmgeek.com for the latest reviews, interviews, and news in the world of indie and global cinema. And see you on the next episode of the podcast. Stay awesome, film geeks.